The abandoned house stood tall at the end of the desolate street, its crumbling facade casting an eerie shadow under the moonlight. It was said to be haunted, the site of unspeakable horrors that had plagued the small town for generations. Despite the warnings, curiosity got the better of two friends, Helen and Jack, as they cautiously approached the decrepit structure. Helen's voice quivered as she whispered,
"Jack, are you sure we should be doing this? I've heard terrible things about this place."
Jack, determined to prove his bravery, replied with a forced confidence.
"Come on, Helen, don't be such a scaredy cat. It's just an old house. What's the worst that could happen?"
As they stepped through the creaking front door, a musty odor enveloped them. The air was heavy with a sense of foreboding, causing her unease to intensify. They ventured deeper into the darkness, their footsteps echoing ominously. Suddenly, a whisper floated through the air, chilling Helen to the bone.
Get out while you still can."
Helen grabbed Jack's arm, her voice quivering.
Did you hear that? We need to leave right now.
But Jack brushed off her concerns, a smirk playing on his lips.
"Just your imagination, Helen. Let's keep going."
Reluctantly, Helen followed him into a dimly lit hallway. The walls seemed to close in around them, the paintings hanging crookedly adding to the unsettling atmosphere. Helen's eyes widened in terror as she caught sight of a ghostly figure in a tattered white dress at the end of the corridor. She tugged at Jack's sleeve, her voice trembling.
"Jack, there's someone there."
Jack turned to look, but his expression remained unchanged.
"Probably just a trick of the light. Don't worry about it."
As they cautiously proceeded, the temperature dropped, sending shivers down their spines. Whispers filled the air, growing louder and more menacing. And the voices of the restless spirits, pleading for release from their eternal torment. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded with Jack.
We have to leave, Jack. This place is cursed.
Jack's bravado wavered for a moment, his voice filled with doubt.
Okay, maybe we should go. But let's just check one more room, Helen."
Against her better judgment, Helen reluctantly agreed, and they entered a room bathed in an eerie green light. In the center stood an ancient-looking wooden chest, emanating an otherworldly aura. Helen's instincts screamed at her to flee, but her curiosity got the better of her. As Jack reached out to open the chest, a low growl reverberated through the room, causing their blood to run cold. The lid creaked open, revealing a grotesque sight, a writhing mass of black tendrils that shot out and ensnared Jack, pulling him toward the chest. Helen screamed.
No! Jack!
Desperation fueled her, as she grabbed hold of Jack's outstretched arm. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she pulled him back, tearing him from the clutches of the chest. They stumbled backward, crashing through the doorway and into the hallway. Gasping for breath, Helen struggled to her feet, her voice filled with terror.
We have to leave now, Jack. This place wants to consume us.
At this moment, Jack, shaken to the core, finally recognized the danger they were in. Nodding in agreement, they raced toward the front door, their footsteps echoing loudly. The house seemed to come alive, the walls pulsating and shifting around them. Whispers grew into menacing laughter, echoing through the halls. As Helen and Jack reached the front door, it slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping them inside. Panic consumed them as they frantically searched for an escape route. They dashed from room to room, but each door they tried was locked or led to another haunting corridor. The supernatural forces of the house seemed determined to keep them captive. Helen's voice quivered with desperation.
We can't give up, Jack. We have to find a way out.
Jack's face was pale, his eyes filled with fear, but determination flickered in his gaze.
"You're right, Helen. We can't let this house claim us. There must be something we're missing.
In a last-ditch effort, Helen and Jack stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading to the attic. As they climbed, the air grew thick with a sense of malevolence. The attic door creaked open, revealing a sinister sight, a circle of flickering candles, illuminating a decrepit book on a pedestal. Helen's heart pounded in her chest as she read the inscription on the cover, Book of Shadows. She turned to Jack, her voice trembling.
This must be the source of the house's power. We have to find a way to destroy it.
Jack's eyes scanned the room, filled with trepidation. He whispered,
Wait, look.
Pointing to a worn parchment hanging on the wall. It depicted an intricate ritual, the only hope of breaking the curse, and banishing the malevolent spirits from the house. Helen's brows furrowed as she studied the parchment.
We'll need specific items to perform the ritual. It says we require a silver dagger, a vial of blessed water, and a lock of hair from the spirit that possesses the house.
With renewed determination, they searched the attic for the required items. After what felt like an eternity, they discovered an ancient, silver dagger hidden beneath a pile of rotting cloth. Jack quickly filled a vial with holy water they had found in a nearby cabinet. The final task seemed daunting. They had to confront the vengeful spirit and obtain a lock of its hair. Bracing themselves, Helen and Jack descended into the depths of the house. Their steps cautious and their hearts pounding. Whispers surrounded them, growing louder and more sinister, as they approached the room where the spirit dwelled.
You can't run now. Your mind.
Helen's voice shook as she spoke to the unseen presence.
We've come to end this torment. Show yourself.
The air grew heavy, and the spirit materialized, a grotesque figure with hollow eyes and matted hair. It let out a blood-curdling shriek, charging at them with a furious rage. Helen and Jack fought back with all their strength, dodging the spirit's ethereal attacks. In a desperate move, Helen managed to cut a lock of hair from the spirit's head, causing it to recoil in pain. With the lock of hair secured, they raced back to the attic, carrying the precious items required for the ritual. As they entered the room, the door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate within the cursed house. With unwavering resolve, Helen and Jack placed the silver dagger, the vial of blessed water, and the lock of hair in the center of the circle of candles. Reciting the incantation from the parchment, they summoned every ounce of courage they had left. Helen looked at Jack, a mix of relief and disbelief in her eyes.
We did it, Jack. We actually did it. We broke the curse and freed those tormented spirits.
Jack nodded, a weary but satisfied smile tugging at his lips' end speech.
I can't believe we made it out alive. This will be a story to tell for the rest of our lives.
As they stood in the pale light of dawn, Helen's voice quivered.
Jack, do you think it's really over? Can we truly leave that nightmare behind?
Jack's face contorted with unease, his eyes darting nervously.
I don't know. Something feels off. The air is heavy, and it feels like we're being watched.
A cold wind whipped through the silence, carrying whispers that chilled their bones. Helen's voice shook with growing dread.
We shouldn't have disturbed the house. I fear we've only awakened a far greater darkness.
Their words were abruptly cut off, as the front door of the house slammed shut with an ear-splitting bang, startling them. Panic surged within them as they desperately tried to force the door open. But it remained sealed, trapping them inside while the malevolence within. They hear the whisper voice.
You can't destroy me. Your mind. Surrender to your fears.
Helen's voice trembled with a mixture of fear and anger.
We have to find another way, Jack. We can't let that house claim us. There must be something we missed.
They hurriedly circled the perimeter, searching for any signs of vulnerability. In the distance, they spotted old secret room, weathered and forgotten. With a flicker of hope, they sprinted toward it, praying for a means of escape. Inside the dilapidated shed, their eyes fell upon a rusted trapdoor hidden beneath a tattered rug. It exuded an ominous aura, but they knew they had no choice. They pulled the trapdoor open, revealing a narrow staircase that descended into an abyss of darkness. With trepidation, they descended into the subterranean depths, the oppressive air thickening with a sense of malevolence. The stairs seemed to stretch endlessly, each step plunging them deeper into the abyss. Whispers whispered ominously, growing louder and more sinister. Helen's voice quivered as she clutched Jack's arm, her voice barely audible.
Jack, we're not alone down here. I can feel it, we're being hunted.
Jack's face contorted with dread, his voice strained.
We can't turn back now. We must press on. There has to be a way out.
As they reached the bottom of the staircase, they found themselves in a ghastly chamber, illuminated by flickering torches. The walls were adorned with crude drawings depicting nightmarish creatures and unholy rituals. A guttural growl echoed through the chamber, freezing them in their tracks. They turned to see a monstrous figure, a grotesque fusion of flesh and bone, towering before them. Its eyes burned with a malevolent hunger. Helen's voice quavered.
What do we do? We can't possibly fight that thing.
Fear and determination mingled in Jack's eyes as he clenched his fists.
We have to try. We won't let this darkness consume us. We must find its weakness.
They dodged the creature's relentless attacks, desperately searching for an opening. Helen's hand brushed against a rusted blade embedded in the wall. With a surge of desperate courage, she wrenched it free, slashing at the creature's vulnerable flank. The creature let out a blood-curdling howl, momentarily stunned. Sensing their chance, Helen and Jack unleashed a flurry of desperate strikes, hacking away. Helen and Jack stood panting, covered in the creature's blackened blood. The room fell into an eerie silence as the lifeless body of the beast dissolved into a foul mist, leaving behind an unsettling stillness. Exhausted and shaken, Helen turned to Jack, her voice trembling.
What was that thing? How are we supposed to fight something so otherworldly?
I don't know, Helen. But we can't afford to wait around for answers. We have to find a way out of here, and quickly.
As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their surroundings twisted and distorted, disorienting their senses. Doors appeared where there were none, leading them down maddening loops that only deepened their despair. Helen's voice wavered with a mix of desperation and frustration.
This house is toying with us, Jack. It's feeding off our fear and confusion.
Jack's grip on his makeshift weapon tightened, his eyes darting around for any sign of an exit.
We have to stay focused. We can't let it break us. There must be a way to break the curse, even if we don't know what it is.
Their search brought them to a grand chamber, adorned with macabre decorations and haunting portraits. The room's centerpiece was an ancient, ornate mirror that seemed to emanate an unsettling aura. Helen's voice quivered.
There's something off about that mirror. It feels dangerous.
Before Jack could respond, a sinister laughter reverberated through the chamber, causing their blood to run cold. The mirror's surface rippled, distorting their reflections into grotesque versions of themselves.
Hello, Helen. Hello, Jack.
Fear gripped their hearts as their reflections stepped out of the mirror, advancing towards them with malicious intent. Helen and Jack fought desperately against their doppelgangers, their weapons clashing with unnatural ferocity. In the midst of the chaotic battle, Helen's hand brushed against a small locket hanging from her neck. It was a keepsake from her late grandmother, a symbol of love and protection. In a desperate act of instinct, she clasped the locket tightly, feeling a surge of energy course through her veins. With newfound strength, Helen's strikes grew more precise, her blows connecting with her doppelganger's weakened form. Jack, witnessing the transformation, followed suit, fighting back with renewed determination. As their doppelgangers disintegrated into shadowy mist, Helen and Jack were granted a moment of respite. Their eyes met, a glimmer of hope in their tired expressions. Helen declared, her voice steady with newfound resolves.
We may not know how to break the curse, but we can't give up.
Jack nodded. A mixture of exhaustion and determination etched on his face.
We have each other. We'll find a way, we have to.
Hand in hand, they pressed forward, facing one nightmarish trial after another. The house seemed to grow angrier, its manifestations more vicious and relentless. Yet, Helen and Jack refused to surrender. They fought against vengeful spirits, dodged treacherous traps, and braved unimaginable horrors. Each step forward was a triumph over fear, a testament to their unwavering spirit. Eventually, as dawn broke on the horizon, the house become normal and they finally can get out the house alive. They find out the house becomes alive at the night. As they stood on the precipice of old age, Helen and Jack looked back on their lives, knowing that their fight against the curse had made a difference. Though the house still stood, casting its shadow over the town. And though the curse may never be fully eradicated, its power weakened, its reach diminished, thanks to the unwavering determination of two souls, who refused to let darkness prevail.